Pickle people, we are back. It is episode 44 of Is This a Pickleball Podcast? I'm your host, Matthew K. Pickleball. I am joined today by my co-host, back from his 1 week vacay from the pod. Mr. Wilson, how are you?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing pretty good. It looks like you had a pretty good substitute last week. I enjoyed the podcast. I hope other people did.
That is right. We are going to talk about that very shortly. But yes, while Wilson was out of the podcast office, I had a chance to interview James Ignatowich about his somewhat new paddle company, RPM, and we're going to go over some of the highlights. But first, hey, if you're watching this pod, hit that subscribe button, throw us a like, give us a hype. All that stuff helps the channel. And today is the final reminder for the giveaways over on the Honolulu CR video. That giveaway I'm about to run, this is your last chance to enter, and same for the Spartus P1 review giveaway. And then we also have that Volair Shift paddle review giveaway. Not many folks have watched that review. I'm not quite sure what's up, but go check that video out. I go into serious depth on that very unique Gen 4 build, so check that video out. And now let's just move straight into things because we have a massive pod today, folks. Wilson's gone. Wilson was gone for a week, and there's just a lot to talk about. But first, let's do our fit check. Mr. Wilson, what do you think of this one?
I like it. Stay out of the
kitchen.
Yeah.
The kitchen. Otherwise, you'll become cooked, a skeleton, dead by the bangers. But no, my brother got me this shirt for my birthday. I guess I'm now in the, I get the pickleball shirts. He used to get me band tees, but now I'm getting the pickleball shirts. I don't know this. If I can find a link online, I'll leave it in the show notes. And then I'm trying out a new brand of hats. I really like this brand. I think I'm gonna really start testing them out, but I like the way they're built. I like the looks. This is from a company, I believe it's called Suay hats, but they got a lot of different kinds of hats. And what I like is they've got hats for us big-headed folks. So this is their larger size, and I really like the back. It's on my head, so I can't show you, but it's got a cool way that they do this sort of clip on it. So cool company, check them out. I'm trying to get set up with a promo code. Give promo code Matthew K a try. And now let's get into our sponsor segment real quick. Today's episode is powered by IntuitSport, a performance-driven sports equipment brand dedicated to giving athletes everywhere access to elite level gear without the elite level price tag. IntuitSport is rapidly expanding its lineup across multiple sports with pickleball front and center, all with one mission: make high quality, innovative equipment affordable for everyone. They believe the playing field should be level and the best gear shouldn't be reserved for the few. While pickleball is their current focus, IntuitSport's product range is about to blow up, and they're quickly becoming a company to watch. Check them out at IntuitSport.com and use promo code MatthewK to save 15% on any product. Thank you to IntuitSport for powering today's episode. And this is probably their flagship paddle, I would say. This is the X3. Check that paddle out in particular. This is a very, very cool paddle. It's next gen, very durable. Check it out. Use promo code MatthewK. And now, Mr. Wilson, we have got to get a move on because this show is packed. And folks, once again, we've heard all the comments. You want Wilson to talk. I want to listen to Wilson. We are still figuring out some technical issues. He looks like a freaking static TV right now, but hopefully his audio will come through to my headphones so then we can have the banter Love Island style for you folks. So we're doing our best. We are getting it sorted. Wilson, are you even over there?
Yeah, I hope I'm not lagging too much, but you're clear as day on my end. Sorry everyone for my poor internet.
No apologies necessary. I'm glad you're getting to see this mayhem on the face. And Wilson, even through the static, I can see how handsome you are. But let's get to it. We've got some big pickleball news and updates. Wilson and I actually played some pickleball this weekend. I know, you folks don't think I play pickleball. You just think I talk over my guests on the pod. But no, I do play pickleball. I do go out. We went to this event called Roll and Rally Sports hosted by the Triumph Foundation. And basically, we got our old crew back together. Dwayne, if you guys remember, he suffered a spinal cord injury a while back, but we got to meet up with him and learn a bit about adaptive sports. At this event, they are doing tons of activities, tennis, wheelchair rugby. I heard there was some baseball going on. I don't remember seeing that, but they are just doing some crazy stuff. And of course, folks, this was about an hour from where I live. And, you know, Buffy, she wanted her walk. And so I of course, arrived late. And I see Wilson and Dwayne, just like in the old days, out on the courts, just wailing on folks. And I showed up and I did a little warm up. And then I actually got to play. Wilson was already playing in a wheelchair, and then Dwayne was playing. And these are special kind of wheelchairs made for adaptive sports. And so it was a chance for folks like Dwayne doesn't have one of those, so he got to try one of those out. Wilson got to try one out, and then I got to try one out, and it was an experience. This was first I should note, this was at the Claremont Club in Claremont. First off, that is a pristine facility. I'm ready to join a country club. Folks, if there's somebody that wants to sponsor my membership, reach out. But that was a really cool place. But it was very cool to try out adaptive sports, try out pickleball in a wheelchair. And I got some thoughts, Wilson, but what was your takeaway from the experience?
Yeah, it's definitely different out there in a wheelchair. One thing though I did notice when you first arrived, and we're like, Matt, hop into a wheelchair and give it a try, and you start stretching your legs. I thought that was funny.
That is a good point. I didn't think about that. And then I remember when we were warming up, I saw the balls go. I saw we were dinking around, and then a ball rolls up behind you and Dwayne, one of your guys' wheelchair wheels, and I was like trying to warn you guys about the ball, and then you shout out, Matthew, we're not worried about folded ankles, all right? And it's like it was kind of like you didn't have to worry about that, but yeah, hey, even if I have to, if for sitting I have to do my stretches, but yes, I guess I wasn't really thinking that through, but yeah. So when we were playing though, did you notice, like for me, I noticed what was very interesting, and I did get a few clips, and it was kind of like I didn't get to play a lot because, you know, I come to the events right when lunch is about to start. That's just, even when I don't try, that's just what happens. They had some great burgers, very tasty, but so I only got to play a little bit, but and then winner stayed on, and of course Wilson and Dwayne had smashed me into smithereens, so I didn't get to stay on. But I did get a few clips of you guys playing. But when I was playing, the thing that was different for me was, so the wheelchair doesn't have brakes like this kind of wheelchair, or if it did, I didn't know how to work them.
No brakes.
So when I was trying to serve, I kind of was like moving back. My core was pushing me back a little bit. So that took some adjustment. And folks, if you don't know about pickleball, when you play with a person in a wheelchair, the rules are a little different. For the wheelchair person, first off, you have your normal wheels on the back of a wheelchair, but then there are these smaller wheels on the front. Those are allowed to go up to the kitchen. So don't be calling wheel faults or kitchen faults if it's only the front wheels. And then you get 2 bounces if you're hitting from a wheelchair. And that was helpful, but Wilson, that was tough. We were playing with soft Franklin balls, and you guys were hitting it back, and that short bounce, like,
it just
first
dies.
off, the biggest challenge, aside from like it dies, but then aside from like the challenge of like getting the ball in service, because you've got this weird momentum, the other thing I noticed was you have to know when to hold your paddle or when to get your hands on your wheels. And so by the end of my losing game, I realized, oh, I can't be holding my paddle for that return. I need to have my hands on the wheels so I can get in position, because even with that second bounce, that's still not a lot of time, because a lot of these serves, you guys were short serving me. Yeah, I saw it, Wilson. I saw it. I know what you're up to.
I also tried to nasty Nelson you.
Yeah, you did. And it was hard to dodge, but I did get out of the way. But one thing, so once I figured out you really need to prioritize your hands on the wheels and then know that you have time to get the paddle. I think one thing that would make it a little more fun is if it was with lifetime balls or something with a little higher bounce, a poppier ball, because I think you could maybe get some more rallies going. But I've seen some guys, we were all beginners, folks. If you've seen any clips, this was everybody's, we're not experts at adaptive sports with pickleball just yet, but Dwayne's gonna be soon. I know it. He seemed hooked. But we're still learning, but I have seen clips of some guys and some players just destroying. And so, but it definitely would take some work. You have to adjust your mindset a little bit. But that was really cool to see. And the Triumph Foundation that ran this event is called Roll and Rally Sports. They are a 501c nonprofit. And on their website, they are taking donations, but basically they help folks with spinal cord injuries, like our friend Dwayne. And so folks that are like dealing with paralysis. I'm not sure if their focus is all on sports, but this event was about sports and adaptive sports. And so it was a lot of fun, lots of folks, some crazy good athletes out there. And so folks, check them out. They could definitely use donations. And then I think I'm ready to see some wheelchair pickleball at open play. Like, I think that would be cool so I think we need to figure out how to make it more welcoming. Like, if we can maybe get the rule differences communicated. So folks, let people know at your open play, you know the rules, the couple differences, but it's a lot of fun. And so, all right, do you have anything else on that, Wilson? I know you had a good time because you were whooping everybody, you and Dwayne, but anything else I missed?
No, you nailed it. But I did have a lot of fun, and it was great, being able to play with Dwayne again. Like you said, we got the old crew back, and it was really nice.
It was a lot of fun, and hopefully Dwayne will get one of those wheelchairs, and then maybe we can get some more classic play footage back in the reviews. And so, Dwayne, if you're listening, Dwayne told me he doesn't listen to the pods because he didn't say they're boring, but he said we get a little too technical. And it's like, bro, Dwayne, I know we don't get technical, so I know you just think they're boring. But Dwayne, if you happen to listen to this one, thanks for letting us know about the event. It was a lot of fun. And now, Wilson, I know you were enjoying your week off, and I had to call. All right, here's what happened, Wilson. I won't mess around. All right, I'll just tell you what happened. All right, so last pod, you and me, we did a whole podcast covering RPM's new foam paddle that John Q helped design, the Q1. But the thing is, folks, I don't have the paddle. And so I'm really interested. I think the design process was super interesting, and I wanted to cover it. And so we did a podcast covering it because I think John Q is a really interesting guy. I know there's some commenter that is really upset about his video about testing out glasses with a jelly head, but guys, he's the Bill Nye of freaking pickleball. Like, of course his experiments are going to be kooky. Like, it's part of the thing. Like, it's what makes it fun. I'm not looking for a full-on science class, all right? I just let him have his fun, and we get some good information from him. In fact, like, anyway, I won't get sidetracked about the John Q praise train. But anyway, we did a whole podcast, and then I reached out, James, I text all the pros every now and then. I text James, do you see the pod? And then he saw, and then he's like, all right, let's do an interview. And I was like, first off, I thought he got me mixed up with somebody else. But I was like, I wasn't going to correct him. I was like, all right, let's do it. And then I was like, when? And he's like, can you do it in 40 minutes? And it's like, oh my gosh. Because the last interview, I was going to take a break from interviews because I got so roasted during that 11/6/24 owner interview, which was a little rushed because I was getting sort of squished in between meetings over there. And, you know, like right now, Pickleball Rambler, that's my other name. Some folks don't like me rambling. And so anyway, he said 40 minutes. I didn't have much time to prep. So we hopped on the pod and basically he just roasted me the whole time about how I can't get folks to send me paddles. But I did have a couple of takeaways, but what did you get any valuable information from the convo with James other than enjoying seeing me get ribbed to where I have bruises down into my lungs? What'd you take from it?
It was very informative to hear James's like journey from going pro to being a paddle company owner. And also it's always entertaining when people are roasting you. It's always fun. But yeah, the information was really good. It's really eye-opening regarding like what he has to do and everything he needs to go through in order to, you know, make such a great product. And yeah, I mean, I'm testing out their first RPM paddle, and I've been enjoying it. So I hope they keep up what they're doing.
Wait. Wilson, don't get into that because, folks, you gotta listen for our next section because Wilson will be giving us his playtesting thoughts. And we got a ton of other coverage, a lot of paddles we're gonna be talking about, so make sure you don't click away just yet. But I agree. I think the biggest thing I took from it was, you know, he's obviously has like a professional athlete mentality, and it's clear that kind of commitment and that willingness to do the work is how he was able to like start a paddle company and make it so successful so quickly. But the other thing that I really think kind of sets RPM apart, and I think I told James this, which is he explained his process on how first off, it seems like he basically lives in China, and so he's doing quick prototyping. I know we've talked about some companies, how they've got shops in the US, and they're doing quick prototypes, and then they're communicating with their Chinese manufacturers. Well, he's touching the real deal, and he even actually talks about how he'll get some demos or prototypes made, and then the actual final batch will be different. But so he's there rapid prototyping and actually testing paddles with a human and a pro level player as well, which is very probably unique to just his paddle company. And then what I found very cool was that he has, when he's testing his prototypes, he has what I believe he called them benchmark paddles. And I think they were just the B&B Loco, the Pro 4, and the Boomstick. And so he literally is thinking about paddles the way I did for the longest time, which was when I started reviewing paddles, my benchmark paddle at the time was the OG Vatic Pro Flash. And so I would compare paddles in my mind to how that one felt because I knew it so well. And then it later became the J2K. And now I would say it's probably the J2H Plus or some there. It's a little tricky now because now I don't main paddles as long as I used to. But I thought it was cool to sort of see that he has some bin of paddles that are the ones that he compares his to. And he also mentioned he was a fan of the J6CR, which I found very interesting because based off of all the design information I have on the new foam paddle coming from RPM, the CR line and then the new RPM paddle are the only foam paddles I know using foam channels on the outside of the core material, the area that then touches the face. And so I personally think is what's yielding for the CR line that really nice touch reminiscent of honeycomb. And so I'm very, very excited to try the Q2 and compare the conditions of my contract to do that interview with James, I should be getting one of those to test out. I saw you comment that you wanted one, but I don't even think, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we are going to hit those, folks. Make sure you subscribe. They are, well, I think we're going to get what we get, Wilson, but we will make sure you hit with it. And folks, subscribe. We have a lot. We're going to definitely cover that. And then, I don't know if you've been watching the channel, Wilson, but I'm really enjoying this new format, these quick takes, because it lets me be a little more fun, lets me talk a bit more about other paddles rather than just the ones I'm doing dedicated reviews on. And I dropped a little first take, kind of a weird video. This is one that James roasted me on, because JOOLA did eventually, just recently sent me the 3S Dual, and I realized, well, you and I haven't gotten to talk about this on the podcast. But basically, JOOLA dropped this paddle after the Pro 4s. And so pretty much no one's reviewed this paddle. Everyone that's reviewed a 3S reviewed the first version being the UPAA certified only paddle. But this one is dual approved. The original 3S was only UPAA certified. This one has both certifications, USAP and UPAA. And this is a very, very interesting paddle. Even though it's been out for a while, I did a little quick take on it. And basically, it was kind of like explaining that if you want a Pro JOOLA paddle, the Dual, the Pro 4, and I have since confirmed, because I've gotten to demo the Pro 5s, they are all very, very similar. And I would say if you need a JOOLA, if you're that devoted to the brand, save the money. This one is $200. It basically, the only difference to me compared to the Pro 4 is you got a little bit less of a hollow kind of put away sensation. You don't get that loud noise, but it's super, super similar. And folks have noted it feels less gritty, but if you check my play footage, you can see it passes the short serve banana test. And so you can really get used to the way it spins. And after hitting with the Pro 5s, like the Pro 5s are just very, very similar. And the Pro 5s are supposed to have that kinetic frame. And so instead of being a true, like a diving board that slings back, the idea is it elevators back. So instead of diving board back, it elevators back to give you more consistent feel, no matter how much power you put behind your shot, more consistent launch angles. I demoed the Perseus 16mm, the Kosmos 16mm, and I really didn't notice a big difference. Of course, I'm sure they'll change a bit after break-in, but based off of the differences between these two, the 3S Dual and the Pro 4, and then my initial impressions of the Pro 5, if you gotta do JOOLA, just do the Dual. It's so close. That's my take. And unfortunately, they still don't do promo codes, but if you use my link for JOOLA, it does help the channel. However, you know what my real recommendation is, Mr. Wilson? Do you know? You know what my real recommendation is? Folks, just stop. Stop going to JOOLA. Like I talk about, like they raised the price. The Pro 5s are now $300. Folks, do you care? Are you happy about that? $20 more. They did lower the price of the Pro 4 down to $230. So that's nice, but like why are we chasing that Selkirk Boomstick price? And I think it's because the companies are interested in it being, all right, folks, we got a guest star. Buffy, you want to come? We don't have a guest star, folks. Buffy, she has come and gone. She's just staring at me. But here's my take, Wilson. What do you think? I think JOOLA is trying to put... Oh, I haven't even asked you the question yet.
You asked me...
Come on, man. All right.
I thought it was, why are they chasing the Boomstick price, right? Is that not it? Is that something else?
All right, yeah. I guess I got distracted. Buffy, when I see... beautiful Buffy, my mind just goes like, it's just
fair. I do the same with Hoka as well. All right. So just
what's
a quick
your take?
My take is, I think it's because they have the following, and they have the pros there who swear by it. So I mean, they're just doing it because they can. For regular people like us, we're gonna find alternatives. But for those diehard fans and pros who want the UPA approved paddle, they're gonna go with YOLA. So because they can.
Yeah, I totally get the pros going with YOLAs because they don't pay for them. They're paid to play with them. I think really, to me, I don't know if this is a hot take. It's about the third time I think I've said it, but I think they've now become like a status symbol to just reveal that you've got this money to burn. And then I think there are just some folks with some good old 401k money, the retiree circuit, that just, they don't care. They don't know how to Google, and they just, YOLA, that's who they go to. And so I think YOLA's got a good buy-in from that crowd. And so I think that's where I think it is. And it's not to say that the Pro 5 is a bad paddle, but I don't think, firstly, I think I prefer the Pro 4 over the Pro 5. And then price-wise, I think the 3S Dual is like good enough, and the savings is there. But there are alternatives. And I mentioned in my kind of little review of the Pro 5s, I think a lot of folks might be looking at the Pro 5s because they want a hybrid, because that's the first time YOLA's doing a hybrid. I haven't seen one of those at Open Play yet. I saw a Perseus already, but I haven't seen a Kosmos. And I personally don't love that hybrid shape of the Kosmos. I didn't think it was quite as forgiving as a traditional. And folks, this is Honolulu Pickleball Company's take on Gen 3 from a while back. This J2H Plus, I mained it for almost all of last year. It kind of got slept on because it came out after the J2K Plus and the J2TI Plus, but this one is the real standout of their next gen line. And this one is $153 after promo code Matthew K. And then the other standout for the Gen 3 space, I think, is Thrive's Fury line. I've hit a ton with the hybrid. These are $180 after promo code Matthew K. I think these are just a more aggressive form of, probably even more so than the Pro 5s. These are very poppy, in my opinion, and these are for higher level players. The Honolulu J2H Plus is a bit more forgiving, but I know you've spent a lot of time on the Thrive Fury elongated, if I'm not mistaken. Do you remember your impressions of it?
I actually have a lot of experience in both the hybrid and elongated. I'll give you my quick take on that, and then I have one more hybrid that I would like to recommend others as well. But yeah, the Thrive hybrid is more powerful than the elongated for some reason, probably the way they made it or something. But that's one of the very few hybrids that I do enjoy playing with. Oh, hey, Buffy. But yeah, the Thrive Fury hybrid is slept on. I don't see it too much, and I think people should try it if they want a powerful hybrid Gen 3 paddle. Yeah, and my other recommendation for another hybrid. Oh, never mind. I'll have to take it back. It's not a Gen 3, so I was going to recommend the Gherkin Draco, because I really enjoyed that hybrid, but that is a foam paddle. So I'll never mind.
Well, the Gherkin Draco is great, and then they did have, I think their line before that was Gen 3, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to be covering Gherkin some more on the channel. They make some really good stuff. But as far as Gen 3 goes, the other one I did want to mention was LUZZ Pickleball, or LUZZ. They have this new-ish paddle called the Glider, which some folks have basically compared to being a hybrid version of their Cannon paddle. And these are both Gen 3 builds, but they're crazy low price. This is both of them $92.65 after Matthew K, promo code Matthew K. And the LUZZ Glider, I would say, probably sits between it kind of probably has the power comparable to the H Plus, maybe between that and the Fury. And I'd say it just sits between those in probably all categories. The touch is probably this is probably a little poppier than the H Plus, but it's very, very similar. I've gotten a few games on this one, and it is a very interesting paddle. It is actually, I do not think it's the exact same build as the Cannon. And so this is a good transition, I think, Mr. Wilson, into what are we testing right now. This segment is presented by our friends over at SwiftNet. And folks, I just found out my code hasn't been working over there. They have changed up some stuff and didn't tell me. And so there are some sales going on. If you use my code, it will let them know, but I don't know if it will give you a discount. But try promo code Matthew K. I'm trying to get that sorted out over there because we've been talking about them, and I thought it was really weird that no one has, for all these months, no one had bought a net. And so I guess it's a mess, folks. But while they're figuring out their affiliate stuff, they have figured out their nets, though. So very good nets. If you're looking for the best portable net, check them out. But yes, I am actually testing these paddles from LUZZ. And I'm really enjoying them. And I thought I would just start things off with the Cannon, because I know this is a paddle you know well, and this is a paddle lots of folks are playing with these days. Once again, the standout thing about this is it's $92.65 after promo code Matthew K, and it is static weight, 7.93 ounces, 121 swing weight. I mean, what a swing weight at what a light static weight. That's pretty crazy. And a 6.2 twist weight. And here's the thing. A lot of folks kind of think this is like a clone of the JOOLA Pro 4s. I actually don't think that's the case. I actually think this paddle is a little poppier. I think this is very aggressive, so much so I added some weight to the sides to kind of mute the pop a little bit for my own style. But it's using, just like the JOOLA's, multiple foams surrounding the core. But some people think it's a floating core, and I couldn't really find an x-ray, but I actually think they have a diagram on their site, and the honeycomb core, once again, Gen 3, 8mm cells for this one, the honeycomb, I do think, breaks through the foam rings, and so I actually think it's probably not a diving board because there's foam on the cheeks, but I think Peninsula is probably more accurate, and I do think that's how it plays. Like, if you don't have that full ring down at the bottom, it plays more aggressively, in my opinion. And so this is an aggressive paddle. But what's crazy about it is it's a 1-year warranty, that sub-$100 price. I did see on their site, if you pay another $30, you can extend the warranty another year, which I think is kind of crazy. But I actually don't think it's probably worth it for their Gen 3 paddles. I think if you're looking at some of their more pricier paddles like the Inferno, that might be something to look at. But this plays very, very similarly to the JOOLAs. If you want an aggressive JOOLA, an aggressive Gen 3 JOOLA, but you don't want to pay that price, I'd say try this one. And knowing that you've got the 1-year warranty, and knowing that it's sub $100, I really think there's no risk, in my opinion. But what's your take on this paddle? I know you've hit it a lot.
Yeah, I definitely like it. I definitely like it, especially for the price. You really can't go wrong with it. I've tested your Pro 4. I've tested some other Gen 3 paddles, like the Thrive Elongated, and this one, you can't beat it with the price. It's up there with both of them. I feel like this one's a little. I have 4 grams on each side from 3 and 9 o'clock, and then down the throat. And with that kind of weight on it, it feels very equivalent to your Pro 4 that I tested out. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with this one. Oh, yeah, also, it's UPA, and then it's UPA approved, so you're gonna be able to play with it at approved, tournaments. Yeah, dual approved. Yeah. Yes,
it's dual approved. So JOOLA's dual approved. You gotta pay $200 or more. This is $92, so pretty crazy. But I actually wanted to talk about their glider paddle, which is actually, some folks think it's the same but as the Canon, but in hybrid form. But if you look at their website, they've got a diagram of it as well, and it is actually a full floating core. The foam does encircle the entire honeycomb polypropylene, which is 8mm cells. And then it does have these additional foam enhancements down here in the cheeks, which is something the Pro 5 really highlighted as a big feature, which we've seen in tons of paddles. But once again, $92, and I would say this one is a little easier to control all around compared to the Canon version, which I think makes sense for someone looking at a hybrid. But I did note they actually now have an elongated version of the glider on the site, and it is a Gen 3 build, but it's using 10mm cell honeycomb, which isn't super common. So folks, if you have hit with that one, definitely comment below, or if you've hit with any of LUZZ's paddles, which ones stand out to you? But I think these are great alternatives to all the JOOLA paddles. Very easy to take a flyer on because they're so freaking cheap. And I don't think I mentioned the stats. This one is, once again, just like the Canon, 7.93 ounce static weight, but then it's got a lower 111 swing weight, a little beefier twist weight at 6.4. And yeah, this one's just a lot of fun to play with. And I'm trying to make a video. I don't know if it's out yet, but I'm trying to cover these on the channel a little bit because I think they're a really cool brand, and I want to keep talking about LUZZ. So very exciting stuff, but that's not all we got, because Mr. Wilson, I know you've been hitting with Carbon's upcoming paddles, the TruFoam Barrage, and those paddles are full foam paddles, so a little bit different than what we've been talking about, but they're very sleek looking paddles. Right here I've got the standard. I like the red. I like that they changed the butt cap. That's cool. But how do they play? So this is basically Carbon finally embracing a more traditional multi-density foam paddle build, because up till now they've really been trying to do single foams and using their Void technology that they own, but they have finally decided to embrace multi-density foams, and so they've got their EPP that we've seen in their previous TruFoam lines, but then there's EVA, and so they're calling it a dual density inner core, and it's got those voids that all the TruFoams have. Only Carbon can do those, and then there's this EVA foam ring that's sandwiched between the EPP core and an outer EPP ring. So that's pretty unique as well. And so right now they've sent out the wide body and the hybrids to folks. And one other thing I wanted to highlight, there's no fiberglass in the layup, which kind of bothered me with the previous TruFoams. But yeah, you've hit with them. What do you think, Mr. Wilson?
Yeah.
Or which one have you hit with? Just the hybrid or what?
100%. Only the hybrid right now. I haven't been able to get around to hitting with the standard shape. But the hybrid, big takeaway for me is that these do require some break-in. You will feel a little unimpressed initially, maybe for the first 1 or 2 sessions. So you definitely have to break this in. But once you do break it in, it does start feeling more like a traditional floating core. I always wondered how the center floating piece of foam, it does have the holes in there that only Carbon can do. And I wonder how much that affects the overall playability of the paddle. But yeah, so far I've had about 6 to 8 hours of it, and then I'm just starting to feel that little bit break in, and it's starting to feel a little more powerful and a little more plush actually than when I first got it. So yeah, it's a good paddle. Unfortunately, it is on the expensive side. It's a legacy brand, right? So it does have that legacy price. And like we just had in our conversation 30 seconds ago, we'll see if it's worth it. You might want to be a diehard Carbon fan. Then yeah, it might be worth it to you. But it does feel good.
Yeah,
and I do enjoy it.
Yeah. I hear you. I will say the difference between JOOLA and Carbon, though, is first off, this is cheaper. It's $252 after a promo code. And for this line, it's a special promo code, Matthew K hyphen TFB, like TruFoam Barrage, because they basically want to track, they want to see how the reviewers do with this specific line. And it's, what the difference is, it's a full foam paddle. And so, or a multi-density foam paddle. It's a foam paddle, so you potentially have the durability, longer lasting paddle. To play devil's advocate, I do think that is a high price, but it is, they do own that technology, whereas what JOOLA's doing, you can get elsewhere. And so maybe you really do like that, the voids in the foam. No one else can do that. Carbon owns it. And obviously it's a full foam paddle, so it has durability promises. But yeah, it's definitely not a budget paddle, that's for sure. But so you're saying you broke it in and it's feeling better. Initially you didn't like it. What does it compare to?
Yeah. So initially it's actually pretty stiff and it doesn't have that floating core feel that I'm familiar with. It just felt like a one piece, like a like their Genesis or even like their wave paddle, although I did like their wave paddle.
Okay.
It does have that kind of feel, but once it started breaking in, it started feeling hollowier. It had a more pocketing feeling from the center floating core, floating foam. It felt,
Okay.
what did it feel like? I don't have too many hybrid experience, but it's,
That's true.
yeah. So
Well, what was the pop? What was the pop in the? What's the pop in the power?
pop is low.
Okay.
Power is there when you do put in a full swing. So it's still in the all chord section. It is more powerful for sure than their previous lines. However, it's still, compared to what we consider power paddles now, currently, it's still a all chord paddle. But it's fun and I do like it very much. I'm excited to try out their elongated. Maybe there'll be a little more pop and power in an elongated form.
Yeah, I do think it's hard for you to talk about non-elongated paddles because you just haven't hit with them the way I have. But yeah, very cool. I do. Hey, Carbon, if you're listening, I don't know if anyone from there listens to this podcast, but consider doing a thinner face layup, because right now this is once again a 5-sheet. This paddle's 5 sheets of carbon fiber, so no fiberglass, which I think is smart. But I think these thick face layups that Carbon, like, I don't know who else does that many pieces of material in their face layup, but I think that's gonna always, like, that's gonna determine your ball feel more than this unique tech with this foam. But Wilson threw up a finger to disagree with me, I think. So what do you have to say over there?
I'm open to changing up the face layup. I'm all for that. But my little note to whoever from Carbon is listening to us is, I want to know why you guys stick with the 14 instead of trying a 16 millimeter. Initially, I've heard that it was to keep the weight down, and if they made a 16 millimeter paddle, it would be just too hefty for most people. But this hybrid feels really light. It doesn't really it's not difficult to maneuver or anything. And with the voids and everything, I feel like you could potentially use make a 16 millimeter version of this, just because I enjoy the plushness that thicker paddles provide. So I mean, I think a lot of people would like that. Carbon, maybe, I don't know. I could be an outlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is. Yeah, I mean, I think folks that are doing these foam paddles that are 14 millimeters instead of 16 millimeters are like saying it has the dwell you're used to with the 16 millimeter honeycomb. But at this point, tons of people have played with 16 millimeter foam paddles, so it's a whole new ball game. And so I hear you. All right, well, we're gonna keep pushing on this. I think I'm gonna do a video kind of covering the 3 different TruFoam releases and how they vary mainly in feel. But folks, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in watching before I put a million hours into it. But I did want to touch on, and we're going to talk about face layup in a second because I'm going to have you share some of your thoughts on the Friction Pro, the OG. But before we do that, you've been hitting with, if you guys see me all distracted, it's because I got a bug flying around and it's just, I can't stand that. I just
where's your pickle zapper? Where's your pickle zapper?
I know. Well, right now, Bubby's in my lap, so I'm very anchored down. I'm trying to reach these paddles, so this is pretty much a mess of a podcast. And I know there's this guy that commented the other day. First off, I had helped him. He had commented on a short, and I had helped him. I answered his question about some paddles. Like I was like basically like customer service, like helping him figure out like what information he needed. Like I'm the better than an AI over here. And then he comes and clicks on the podcast and says, "This podcast, I tried to listen to it. I clicked away in a few minutes. This needs work." And it's like, well, I know he didn't make it this far today, so he doesn't hear me saying that. But yeah, guys, this podcast, it's about the rambles. It's about the it's not raw. A straight path. It's raw, but it's not a freeway. All right, we're taking the scenic route. Okay, we stop here, we go on a rant about this, we go here, we chat about that, and so now, Mr. Wilson, I want to chat. I want to give the people what they want. All right.
Okay.
11.624. They have released the Pro 2 in 2 new shapes. We got the Pegasus. We've got the Huarache X now. And my friend, we haven't been able to talk about it because we couldn't talk about it because we were told not to talk about it. But I saw you, there was an embargo, and we had to turn the camera off because Mr. Wilson was playing with one of the early Huaraches a while back, and he was wailing. He was destroying, and we were recording some play footage. And then I'm like, bro, I can't show that on camera yet. And so I made him put it back in the bag.
And I played terribly.
And then he had to play with some other paddles. You did play not as well. But the Huarache shape, that's the one I've been waiting for because I don't think, folks, I did a whole first look on the Vapor Pro, what's it called? The new Pro 2, Power 2? How do they call it?
Yeah, it's a Vapor, it's a shape, Pro Power 2. Pro Power. PP.
Pro Power 2, yeah. So their new paddle, and you know, that shape, I don't think it's for me. I really just couldn't get used to it. I have heard if you spend a lot of time, I'm not sure, we'll definitely talk about this because now that I can hit with the Huarache, I think now I'm probably gonna do like an overview. But I have heard it can change, the feel can change after a lot of time on the paddle, and so we'll be talking about that. But first impressions, the new Huarache from 11.624, give it to us. What is it?
Yeah, I like it. It's not as powerful as my tournament paddle, which is the Bread and Butter Loco. It's a couple steps down, but there's still plenty of power. I am most curious about the grit because it's not gritty like traditional grit like the 6.0 diamond grit. It feels kind of like a flatter thing, like a flat, I don't know how to explain it, but you know, they have their hex grit here and I'm excited to see how long it actually lasts. But yeah, power is lower on the lower end with this Huarache. Sorry, take that back. Pop is lower. There is definitely power when you do full swings. It's very controllable at the net, and you know, this is my tried and true long handle style elongated paddle. So I love the shape and everything about it, and I do like this lavender color. It's kind of cool. Yeah, so I'm excited about the grit and see how much more power I'll get out of it when it breaks in.
All right. Yeah, I saw you play with it and you were ripping, and it looked like you were getting
those were
some
my
very
first
good
hits
spin,
too. So you can
power.
imagine. Those were just my first hits. That was my first
Yeah.
time playing with it. So imagine once I break it in a little bit, like you say, every time I give you back a paddle, you always say it sounds a little different. It sounds different from when before I gave it
Yeah.
to you.
Oh yeah. I don't think I know how to break in a paddle. I think I will always play with it straight out of the box. Might as well. But yeah, so 11624, the full line is out. It's been approved for, once again, only UPAA certification. Folks, does that bother you? Do you want that USAP stamp? Let me know down in the comments. And as far as spin and surface material, I did want to give a little bit of a tease of what we're covering regarding RPM. Once again, that's the paddle company sort of being steered by James Ignatowich. And so you have gotten to hit some with the OG Friction Pro, not the V2, the OG. And what are your first impressions?
So yeah, this is the RPM Friction Pro 1, I guess Gen 1. It is a Gen 3 paddle with honeycomb in there, and I think it's very similar to the JOOLA Pro 4. It plays very similarly to it, and I think this is a great alternative if you are not a diehard JOOLA fan. James made a really good product here. I've only had about 4 or 5 hours of playtime on this, but it does feel really good. I like Matt, do like the feel of honeycomb over foam, although I do have power paddles that are foam. I do just enjoy the feel of this paddle a lot more. This is a nice in between from the LUZZ Cannon, which is super cheap and powerful, but the feel is not quite there compared to this RPM. And this RPM is tad cheaper than, I don't know the prices, maybe Matt can clarify, but it is cheaper than the YOLAs out there. So if you want YOLA performance without the YOLA price, this might be an alternative. And I am excited to see what
Yeah.
maybe if you could get a Friction Pro 2, or eventually you'll get the Q, I hope. And I'm excited to see how those play. But yeah, I'm really digging this version 1.
Yeah. So that's the V1. And so RPM, it stands for revolutions per minute. And so the company was very intent on getting really good spin from their paddles. And so I did want to ask, on their very first line, how did they succeed? Do you have good grab, good spin?
Yeah. This is definitely, I forgot that was the biggest takeaway for me, and I totally forgot to say something about that. This is much grittier than the YOLAs. I like I said, even you said that, like for example, the 3S dual and stuff, and even the Pro 4, it feels, I mean, yes, you can get spin on it, but it just doesn't feel gritty at all. It feels relatively smooth. And, like John Q says, yes, the core can generate spin, but a lot of it is still, especially at the net, a lot of it comes from the grit. So this might actually take the podium above the YOLAs on grit and kitchen spin.
And and so the one you have, static weight of 7.9 ounces. It's supposed to have a 117 swing weight, a 6.4 twist weight. So good stats. But yeah, what you just said, this is so smooth, the 3S Dual. And yes, you can get spin on drives through the core, but that doesn't really help you a ton on soft hits where you're not penetrating all the way through the face. And so grit and grab is super important. And so they were pretty intent on optimizing, according to their site, the coefficient of friction on the RPM paddles, which I've talked about in the Spartus P1. And so the V2, which they've actually kept, if I understand everything correct, they've kept it at the same price. So after promo code Matthew K, you can get this or the updated V2 version, $212.50. So a tad bit more than the smoother dual from YOLA, but arguably way better spin. And so the V2, the biggest update is, and James in my interview seemed to really think this was a big upgrade, to be honest, is what they're calling the new axial carbon layup. So they've updated the face sheets, and then on the V2, I don't know if it's changed from the V1, but he's saying that that layup coupled with the enhanced EVA foam ring is supposed to generate elite spin and power. So that foam ring is going to be more helpful on the drives and that dwell, and making that sweet spot a bit beefier. And then really it's he's messing with the orientations of the sheets. And I actually talk about in my Franklin C45 review the benefit of doing that. And James details, I think he might state the orientations that he uses, or I think he might have withheld. I can't remember now. That guy made me edit out a lot of bits of the podcast, so I don't remember everything that is in the podcast. But nice guy, though. Nice guy. I understand why. But that orientation does do a lot. Like that Franklin C45, orienting the sheets the way that paddle does really does help generate more grab. And so I think, going back to like YOLA, not YOLA, like if this has the performance you're saying, but better spin, I think this is one to look at. And then, yeah, I'm going to be hitting with some of the RPM paddles soon, and I can weigh in on the touch department as well. But I did want to talk about, we've been talking about Gen 3, Gen 4, so many different paddles, but I have to talk about, because these are some of the paddles I've been hitting with the most lately, I have to share an update about freaking SpeedUp. All right, folks, I got them all. I've hit with all three shapes of the SpeedUp Tide. We covered these pretty in depth on the last pod that you and I did. But what's unique about these is they are using MPP instead of EPP as their core, and then their ring of foam is actually different as well. It's called a PPE foam. And so once again, MPP, the argument is that it's more durable than EPP. And now Buffy's going crazy and licking me. All right, okay. MPP is made differently than EPP. Instead of being sort of little pellets expanded, it's somehow chemically made. And so supposedly there's less risk of sail collapse. And then the PPE, instead of the EVA as its ring, is once it compresses, it's supposed to come back to its initial state, whereas EVA potentially might not do that and can break down or soften up over time, changing the play characteristics of your paddle. And so SpeedUp, their owner, is like really in touch with all these materials and wanted to create kind of like a powerful paddle, not too powerful, but a paddle that was consistent from when you first fall in love with it to, I guess, when you're done playing pickleball as a career. I don't know, but like, I don't know if you've experienced this, Wilson, but like you loved the way a paddle felt, and then it changed on you at some point, and then you just couldn't get back. Like it wasn't what it used to be. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. I mean, people know that paddles are consumables, so they're gonna break down. So you have to replace it eventually. That's it. Yeah.
I hear you, but he wanted it to kind of be predictable. As far as he wanted the performance to feel the same longer, for you to fall in love with the feel, and that's the paddle that you play with for the lifespan of the paddle. And then it's fortunate, it's doing 3 layers of CF, which I appreciate, and they're also taking advantage of that 45-degree orientation. And yeah, these are 14 millimeter, and they play aggressive, in my opinion. Wilson, you saw me hit with these. These definitely push you to play faster, but they've got great shape, great spin. But yes, if you don't have great mechanics, these are going to be a challenge. If you're kind of a lower level player, this might not be the one for you, because these are kind of just like we were talking about with RPM. Like, these are being play tested and kind of developed by pro level players. The owner is a pro player, and they play very aggressively. I know you hit a ton with the elongated Tide, the Tide 14L. I really enjoyed this one. It really pushed me to play hard. And when I'm in a game that I'm kind of more of the dominant player, and like I'm not having to reset and I can score winners, I really enjoy this paddle. It is a little harder when I'm playing with players better than me, to be honest. And so then I was trying out both the standard and the hybrid. And the standard is definitely fun, but I found myself leaning towards, or the hybrid is fun, but I found myself kind of leaning towards the standard. I think it was, look at this face. I mean, it's just more forgiving. It helps you a little bit more. And so if you really want to get a SpeedUp paddle, but you're maybe playing more mixed levels where you're trying to get in games with higher level players, I would suggest maybe looking at this one as opposed to the elongated. But if you're someone that is the guy to be in your crew, like I would look at the elongated. It's a ton of fun. But these I'm really enjoying. I think these are standout paddles for sure. And I don't know, did you want to share some thoughts? I know you hit a ton with the elongated.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what I said in our previous podcast, that I really like this one, and I even said that if I got another one, I could potentially main this paddle after my Loco dies, because I like it so much. And I know it's a 14 millimeter, but it plays pretty soft. Well, no, it's not soft, but it plays with enough mass behind it, like a 16 millimeter. But one thing I noticed is that it does have a little flex because of how long it is, the handle versus the face. So I like that whip feel that I would get just like a tennis racket from my tennis days. But also because of the shape and how the top edges are so wide, it feels really stable. And the sweet spot feels like, I know there's weight on the sides, but the shape also allows it allows the sweet spot to be widened a little more. So it doesn't feel as narrow as traditional elongated paddles. So it has a great sweet spot. It's MPP, and it has a super elongated handle that I love for the whip I get. And yeah, it's a great paddle. And I don't know how long it'll last, but the grit is amazing when it's still new. So it's gritty. It's a gritty one. So it's really fun to play with.
I think having that, it does have internal weight, kind of like the Paddle Techs, which I think is smart. And seeing as how you kind of don't love how all the TruFoams are 14 millimeter, those foam paddles, but you like this one. I mean, saying you could potentially main it, I mean, that really speaks volumes to how they tuned the feel of this paddle. And these are just top tier paddles. I don't know if I have the price in front of me. Oh yeah, so they are $144 after promo code Matthew
can't
K
beat that.
Knocks off whatever that is. It's a very, very good value paddle. Like, it's pretty insane. And
it's so pretty.
Really cool. Like, yeah, they just knocked it out of the park. What a great line. And all right, now if 144, or you need something a little easier to handle, if 144 is too much or you need something a little easier, don't worry, because I think my favorite budget foam paddle has been dethroned, which has always been a debate between the Vatic V-Sol line and the Rhombus Quanta line. But the enhanced turbos, they're out. People are getting them. That line currently has 5 paddles. And I wanted to talk briefly about them because these are probably going to get compared to another line of paddles that we're going to talk about that you've been hitting with, the new Aura paddles from Friday. I think that's how you say it, A-U-R-A. Yeah. But those are probably going to get compared to these. But I really want to highlight the turbos really quickly because I've been spending a lot of time with them. In fact, I'm going to be working on a video shortly, which will have a giveaway. So make sure you subscribe in case you want a free turbo. But basically, I can break this down real quick. These are, after promo code Matthew K, they're $100 foam paddles. All right. And they have they have 2 takes of foam. They've got MPP, which we've been talking about throughout this podcast. I'll hold on for a second on that one. And then they've got EPP in 3 shapes. They have the Enhanced Turbo EPP Elongated, Hybrid, and then a Standard. The Elongated, if you've looked at any of Vadic's Vadic's VSOL line, the Pro in particular, but you want a different, these sit with those. I would argue they maybe have a touch more forgiveness, potentially. I think it's for splitting hairs, but very similar to that. Great elongated shape. And so that stands toe-to-toe with Vadic's line. But then you've got these shapes, which are very unique to Enhance. This is a pretty stretched out standard, very forgiving. This would probably be one that I would recommend. I don't know. I think this could be a very good recommend to anyone looking to invest into pickleball and starting out or wanting a durable paddle. This is a very forgiving paddle, very fun, durability, good power, everything. But the one that really stood out to me of the EPP line is this shape, which is super unique, super long handle, carved out cheeks. I mean, no buckle fat here. This is an LA paddle all the way. Tons of whip. It's a lot of fun. This is the one I did a quick take on this. This blew me out of the water. I love this thing, and at $100, you cannot go wrong. But then everybody's talking about MPP, MPP, MPP. And I had to finally just sit down and give the MPP stuff a shot. I've been going through MPP paddles left and right, folks. If I'm trying to make a video of my favorites. So if there's one you think I should consider, comment down below. But Enhance's $100 MPP Turbo is a very good value. And I know we've talked about this. This is very similar to the LUZZ Inferno, which is, I think, twice that price, except maybe a little bit less of a premium feel or touch. But if you're someone that just ends points after 3 hits, or you're someone that doesn't really notice that kind of feedback, this is a no-brainer. This is a great paddle. And so who would you say, Wilson, let's take the unusual shapes out of the equation. Who should get the MPP elongated and who should get the EPP elongated?
It's tough to say. The difference is very minute. It's just the MPP green one is a tad more powerful, and the blue EPP is a little more toned down. I mean, the biggest thing I like to compare it to, I like to compare them by bouncing a ball on them because they do sound a little different. The green MPP is a little hollowier, and it feels like there's more power. Let's hear it.
All right, let's see if Buffy's right here. All right, so the first was MPP, the second was the EPP. Let's do it one more time and see if Buffy stays. All right, that's all I got. Buffy's gonna be mad at me.
That was impressive.
I would say I have, because people roasted me on the James Ignatowich interview with my analogies, but I'm gonna go hard with this one. All right, I think that EPP is thunder and the MPP is lightning. What I mean is the EPP is kind of a little bit more, it's got a southern drawl to it a little bit. And the MPP, it's like freaking, James Cagney, like very abrupt. It's curt with its pronunciations. And so how do you guys like those analogies? But yeah, I think basically the Turbo MPP kind of has a little bit more put away power, and the EPP is a little, I guess I would say softer almost, is how I would, if I really had to put it in simple terms.
Seeing how difficult it is for Matt to describe the difference really tells you how like I said, how minute the difference is between the two. It's just, if you want a little more power, go with the green MPP. If you want a little more control, like a little more control, you go with the blue EPP. But more or less, they're both pretty powerful paddles, and for the price, you really can't complain. Although I do recommend Enhance to increase the grit a little bit. It just, there's like no grit on these, and I don't know why. If they had a little more grit, it would be amazing. But definitely worth $100.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the grit note, but I was able to get really good spin, and I don't know. I think some of the companies are afraid of I think they're figuring out other ways to get their ball shaping, but I hear you. I hear you. And now that brings us, so we got Enhanced Pickleball, massive YouTube presence. They do the Dink Master. They do all those videos, but then you got the Friday Pickleball guys, and we've talked about Friday on the channel before. They have basically made one of the easiest to recommend starter paddles. They're the colorful ones you see advertised all the time. Then they came out with the Gen 3 paddle, the Friday Fever, that people like. That was a really easy recommend for a next gen paddle. But now they have gone Gen 4. They have released 2 different lines, which we're finally allowed to talk about the tech. That's why we haven't, that was kind of embargoed. But you have the Aura Pro and you have the Aura, but they are both Gen 4. They have multiple shapes of each. But all right, I know you've gotten a few hits on these. Why don't you just walk through your first impressions? And I'll talk about the tech. Don't worry about that. We try to keep Wilson sometimes in the blind on the tech, so he won't walk into his play testing with any preconceptions or biases. It's not that he's lazy and doesn't want to do the research. We think it's kind of a good way to do the pod. But what are your first impressions? How does the pro differ from the non-pro?
Well, thank you for making me feel better. It is partial. I do enjoy going blindly to get my real first impression, but it's also a little bit of laziness. And the boss here is nice enough to let me get away with it. So yeah. Anyways, first impressions. The Aura Pro is definitely the power paddle, and the Aura is more of the control foam paddle. But they're both really fun and good. They feel really good. They're not as hollowy as traditional power paddles, but this Aura Pro kind of gives me Flick F1 vibes, but not that powerful. It is on the denser side. It's not rigid and hollowy like other power paddles. This does definitely have pop and power. It's more of the uh, dense and plush feeling, but it does kind of rebound. It does rebound the ball pretty quickly off the face, so I do like that. The Aura, it's like a slower rebound. I have a lot more control with this one. Power is still up there, but the pop is a lot more toned down on the Aura. And yeah, if you want something that is very controllable, give Aura a try because the power is still there. But if you just want full send, pop, and power, you might want to try this Aura Pro. Aura Pro, yeah. And shape, traditional elongated shape, just like the RPM and the JOOLA Pro 4 and stuff. So you can't go wrong with this one. And I think Matt says that they come with other shapes too. So you have options out there.
Yes. And so basically the pricing for these, the Aura, after promo code Matthew K, they're bumping up the discount initially. And so the Aura is $119 and the Aura Pro is $159. And so a bit of a difference in price. And what's super interesting to me, I want to just focus on the elongated because they're built very differently, both of them. And so the pro and the non-pro. And so I want to start out with the pro, which is basically the elongated. Just to give you an idea, it has a target 116 swing weight, target 6.15 twist weight, and an 8-ounce static weight. And it's an EPP foam core with something they're calling an Elastec rubber perimeter weighting. And then there's also perimeter foam, and that Elastec rubber is the kind of Friday's thing. It's basically a frame, and they're claiming this Elastec internal perimeter weighting. Basically, it sits between the EVA and EPP, and it largely takes the place of the void space that you see in other Gen 4 constructions. That's what they're saying. And they're claiming it enables more plow through on drives, stronger counters, and a satisfying sweet spot feel. But good. Then the rubber is supposed to allow you to play the soft game well. So yeah, you agree with that? Is that how you saw it with the pro?
Yeah, actually, I could. It does feel like the Flick F1, and I also have a Dynasty Foam Legend here. This plays very similarly to those. It does have that rubbery, bouncy feel that I've described the other two before. I could definitely see that, and yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. But this one is kind of difficult to control, I have to admit. It did take me some time to dial in, and I'm sure my partners were not very happy.
All right, and so that's the pro. Now the Aura, the cheaper one, you would think that it's, because that pricing is so different, you would think this was like not a Gen 4 or I don't know, but this is a Gen 4. It's just a completely different design. And so it's got a horseshoe of EVA, and then it's got the Elastec rubber perimeter weighting, and it's an EPP foam core, and then it's using these foam pieces down the cheeks, like we've seen in the Pro 5s and we've seen in other designs. So this one looks like familiar, but this rubber perimeter weighting is very unique. And its target swing weight is 116, twist weight 6.05, static weight 8.1 ounces. And so obviously this one is designed to be a little more control oriented, having that weight, supposed to dampen shock, vibration, all of that. And then I'm actually not sure on the rubber perimeter from this one. It seems that it might be in a horseshoe shape. Yes, so it's a horseshoe shape rather than fully encircling the EPP. So very different build altogether. But you're saying, and I mean, I guess what they're saying, the paddle feel is supposed to be soft and it's supposed to be trampoline-y. With a more exponential power curve. And this one is using a CFC face layup for folks that are curious about that. But that doesn't necessarily translate the way it used to with honeycomb when you are using the foam builds. And so what was this? Would you say this was trampoline-y, exponential? What's your take?
Yeah. Definitely. The pop I have the Aura, the regular Aura like yours. The pop is very low. Not very low, but it is low. And the power is whatever you put into it. It's definitely much more controllable than the Aura Pro. And actually, for the price, I think I would actually just go with this one. Like I said, the Aura Pro is very fun, but it's kind of difficult to dial in. And in high pressure situations, pop-ups may happen, So this I'm leaning towards the Aura right now.
All right. Well, stay tuned, folks. We're going to be getting a lot more hits on these. But yeah, Friday is definitely coming to the table hard with the next gen, with the Gen 4, with the foam paddles, bringing two distinct designs catered to two very distinct players. I am kind of curious how that's all going to play out because their lines are getting pretty complex. Like back in the day, that was just their starter paddles. Like you knew who Friday paddles were for, but yeah, they're doing professional sponsorships now. So I don't know, maybe a big video breaking down the whole thing would be valuable. Folks, what do you all need from me regarding the Friday lines? It's so like that would be a massive project though. It's so many paddles because they've got their OG paddles, they have the Fever, now they've released 2 versions of the Aura, not to mention the paddles that came between that we've been talking about. That's a lot of lines. Like they're getting into Honolulu territory with their lines. But all right, folks, I know you've been here a long time. We need to wrap things up, but you know what? There's one more paddle that we've got to briefly talk about because I had to rip it out of Wilson's hands. He wouldn't give it back. He loved it so much, and I just have to talk about it because it's from a company we have talked about before. This is a company called Pakle, Pakle. A long time ago, I did a podcast all about Pakle, predicting that they would be the next Honolulu pickleball company. And I think they are on that path because I saw you hit with this paddle. I've done a few hits, but I watched you freaking tear people apart with this. This is their Pakle's latest paddle, the Fuse. It's a follow-up to their Gen 3 paddles, the EVO01, which then had a lighter weight version called the Reactive come out. But this thing, we've been talking about budget paddles, folks, but this thing is a Gen 4 build on a budget. If you've got a shoestring budget and you want a next gen paddle, promo code Matthew K makes this paddle $92.65. This is the cheapest foam paddle I know of on the market. But how does it play, Wilson? Walk us through it.
Oh, this is a great paddle for sub $100. Number one, I always complain about the grit on $100 paddles, and this is no slouch on the department. It is gritty as heck. And when I was playing with this, my partner had a LUZZ Inferno, and people know how loud those LUZZ Infernos are. And he even had to stop and say, "What are you using?" Because this is even more, it's louder. I don't know if you can just get the ball real quick, and I apologize to Buffy, but if you can hit a ball real quick, maybe people will hear how crazy loud it is. Where's that ball? Where did the ball go? Sorry, Buffy.
Gonna kill me. All right,
do it for the do it for the pod.
I have an Inferno. So spoiler alert, this is MPP foam, the Fuse is, just like the Inferno. And so let me bounce a ball on an Inferno first. This is the LUZZ Inferno. This is a great paddle, a great MPP paddle. So a very pitchy bounce. So that's the Fuse. Buffy does not like that one.
No.
So let me do the Inferno, and then I'll go to the Fuse, and then we'll be done. Oh, hit the mic. All right, Inferno. Fuse. All right.
Yeah.
Louder, higher bounce.
It's definitely louder.
But if Buffy is our sound tester, Buffy did not like the sound of the Fuse.
Yeah, so it's very high pitched, and it's also powerful. It's not just sound. It's not just all show. It does have go. My serves are so much more powerful, and I mean, you can't go wrong with this one. Pakle hit it out of the park with this. I mean, like I said, I mained their Evo Gen 3 paddle, and I liked it, and they came out with that one, and it was kind of very subtle when they released it. I mean, they definitely need to work on their algorithms or something and get their name out there, because they're making amazing paddles and no one really knows who they are. So, come on, Pakle. Hire a marketing team.
No, don't. We'll review the paddles. People will find out. But yes, this is an MPP foam paddle. It's got basically an EVA ring, MPP centerpiece. But then the thing that's unique is it's got this TPU foam kind of horseshoe, but it goes down into the cheeks, but it doesn't go all the way around the MPP core. And that TPU foam, it's a new foam. I don't know if we've talked about that one this pod, but it's supposed to be a high rebound elastic material, which is supposed to, according to Pakle, enhance energy return for added power and pop. And yeah, I couldn't actually test this one. That's why Wilson got to test it, because it was a little too poppy for me out of the box. So I'm probably gonna have to wait this thing up. But yeah, very, very interesting paddle. It's sub $100 full foam paddle.
Yeah, it's also pretty light stock.
What were you saying, Wilson?
It's pretty light stock.
Yes.
So there's a lot of room for modifications.
Yeah, it has a 7.7 to 7.9 ounce static weight, and then target 6.4 twist weight, target swing weight range of 110 to 115. Although with the way you're hitting, I think it's a little bit beefier than that. But yeah, very good paddle. Unfortunately, I think they're sold out right now, but you can check the site. Promo code Matthew K will get you the best price over there. All right, folks, we have got to wrap things up. I'm going to cover today's featured accessory real quick, and then Wilson will make us better at pickleball, and then you're done. You get to go home. But today's featured accessory is Ethos's Pro Undergrip. We have talked about Ethos on the channel before. They're a very cool paddle company, but they also make accessories. This is what I actually put on my LUZZ Cannon, because for me, the LUZZ Cannon is just a little too aggressive for my style of play, and I wanted to bulk up the grip a bit to help me have looser hands, to have a little bit better control. And so I used the Ethos Pro Undergrip on this one, except it's actually a pretty thin grip. It's very similar to Hessecore's, where it gives you, basically you take the stock grip off, you slide the undergrip on, and then you put your overgrips on top of that. And so it's supposed to help have a looser grip, so you're not over tightening and potentially straining and getting pickleball elbow. And then the other thing that sort of separates Ethos from Hessecore is the groove patterns really help you, especially if you're a continental player, guide where to lay your fingers. Really good feedback. But for me, it was actually a little thin. And I actually had to put extra overgrips to compensate for that. But now Ethos has come out with a thicker one, and so I'm going to try to check that one out. But most people probably will be fine with the normal one, and it's just a great little tool to help keep your grip position, have good feedback on the handle, and yeah, it supposedly for many folks it can help kind of prevent over tightening, over squeezing, which is a good way to like prevent getting pickleball elbow. And so that is today's featured accessory. And now the tip of the and then this is only $21.21 after promo code Matthew K. And that is today's featured accessory. And now let's move to the tip of the week. This segment is presented by our friends over at BodhiPickleball. Mr. Wilson, it is time to make us better at pickleball. What is your tip?
Yeah, so my tip of the week today is the fourth shot and where you should aim for it. Number one is the fourth shot, of course, happens after someone does a third shot drive or third shot drop. And what you want to do is hit to the side of your opponents. When they're doing the third shot, their goal is to come up to the kitchen and take away space from you. So they're already approaching you. And if you hit it back to them, the area in front of them is already closing while they're approaching. So your target in front of them is getting smaller and smaller by the moment. So my recommendation is hit to the side of them, preferably their backhand, or if they have a very weak forehand, hit to their forehand. The reason is that when you hit, they have to stop and they got a split step. And instead of just hitting a ball in front of them, easily, they have to stop, split step, and turn their body either to their backhand or to their forehand to get their shot. That's an additional adjustment that they have to do. So there's always whenever you add an extra step to your shot, there's a chance for a mistake or an error. So instead of giving them an easy, straightforward shot, hit to the side of them, make them change directions while they're approaching the kitchen, and hopefully they pop it up and you finish it off.
Yep, yeah, I learned this one firsthand because Mr. Wilson, we were playing with I was teaming up with a left-handed player, and Mr. Wilson knows I have a bit of a weak backhand when I'm on the left side, and my partner, we were stacking the whole time, and so Wilson just freaking short hit to the side, to my backhand side, and tangled me up over and over. It was not fun, but... All right, folks, I will be the guy that freaking Wilson tests all of his tips on to make sure they are good bits of advice. I can give my stamp of approval on this one because he tortured me with it. All right, that brings us to the end of today's pod. Make sure you hit that like button. Throw us a subscribe if you can. That helps. I don't even know if that's how you would say that. If you got a hype button, punch that thing. And yeah, you'll definitely want to stick with our channel. Keep watching the videos. Make sure you check out that Volair shift review. That giveaway is still going. And then the Spartus P1 and the Honolulu CR1. This is probably your last chance to enter that giveaway. So make sure you check out those videos to see how to enter. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon. Mr. Wilson, do you hope these folks get to pickle soon?
I hope everybody gets to pickle soon.
All right. Just don't forget, it's about having fun.